What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bio S3 Story Time. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, in story time, with my story, is my tattoos. Now, I've gotten some emails, which is kind of funny, because I never thought it was that big of a deal. And I've actually gotten some comments posted about, why don't you do a story time about your tattoos? Okay, they really have nothing to do with bodybuilding and fitness industry, but there are some funny and cool stories behind some of them. So without further ado, story time will undergo beginning now. The first one I ever got was this English bulldog tattooed on my forearm. Now, I'd seen it on different walls, and it was a marine bulldog and stuff. I liked the bulldog, and stemming back from when I was a child, I used to watch professional wrestling with my dad. In the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith walked out to the ring with a bulldog. I had never seen one before. So I asked my dad, I'm like, what is that? And he said, it's a bulldog. And I was like, huh. Bulldog. I'm like, that is so cool. He was short, stocky, thick, looked like a little muscular dude, but he was a dog. And I just kind of loved the English Bulldog ever since then. So I decided I wanted to get the Bulldog. I was trying to figure out where to put it. And I took temporary tattoos and I put it on my shoulder, decided I want it there, put it on my chest, put it on my back. And finally I put it on my forearm and I was like, that's where I'm going to get it. It just happened to turn out that Dorian Yates had an English Bulldog on his arm too. But this is before Dorian was even around in bodybuilding. I was 18 when I got this one. So my parents told me, you can't have one until you're 18. So on my 18th birthday, I got up. I left the house before they even got up. I got the bulldog tattoo and came home with it. And they were like, you've been 18 for like 20 minutes. Yep, but you said when I was 18. So that was my first one, the English Bulldog. I did then go on when I was later, a little bit older, had to have my first English Bulldog named Lucky. And as you guys have seen in some of my videos, I have a 9-year-old English Bulldog right now named Bruno, who's a 75-pound monster of a bulldog with a 26-inch neck. Yeah, he's got a 26-inch neck. So that's the story behind that one. My second tattoo that I got was my armband. Now, some people are like, armbands are so cheesy. Well, back then they weren't cheesy, okay? And back then I had just got into wrestling, and I was playing the part of Buff Bagwell's little brother, Lucien Bagwell. And Buff had the armband tattoo. So in order to try to pull off the gimmick better, I went and got the armband tattoo. Now, the funny thing about this one was, when I showed up at the tattoo shop, it happened to be one of my best friends from childhood, Ben, that was the tattoo artist. And he hadn't seen me in a while, so I'd gained about 60, 70 pounds since he had seen me. I was probably about 21, 22, maybe 23 years old when I got it. And we had actually, been into some kind of argument that was like kid stuff that lasted for a while. But at that point, it'd been a while, we were over it, whatever. And Ben had actually done this tattoo. And it wasn't a band, it was actually like a piece of like tribal thing about that big. And what he did was shorten it and stretch it out. And he made a stencil of it. He made the stencil over and over again to go around my arm. So it technically wasn't really a band to begin with, but we turned it into a band. After that one, I don't remember which one I got next, but I have the tribal one around my navel, which there's no specific story to that. I just thought it was cool at the time. I had a navel piercing, which, some people may, bust chops about. I'd seen it on Shawn Michaels, the pro wrestler. I was like, that's pretty cool. Not a lot of dudes have it. So I figured, if I get this thing, it's going to be different than what everybody else is doing. And I did, and I got a lot of attention from girls. You'd be surprised, girls usually get navel rings, but it got a lot of attention from girls when I was younger because it was so different. Then I think it was the next one was on the back of my neck, which is the Japanese symbol, which I thought was for future. Okay, can't control your past, you're in the present, but you can control your future. So I wanted one that was future. So I get this thing down on my neck. I was on the phone while they were tattooing it, no big deal, didn't hurt. And then, fast forward like 5, 10 years, I'm in the mall, and these 2 Asian girls are behind me in line at like a Hot Topics laughing at me. So I said, what's so funny? And she said, do you know what that means on the back of your neck? I said, yeah, it means the future. And they both started laughing. They never said what it meant. So I kind of now I was like, what does it really say? Well, my ex-girlfriend had a friend who spoke and wrote Japanese, and they said it translates to the one before, or in English, firstborn. Which is fine. That worked out pretty well because I'm the oldest in my family. I'm the firstborn son. So it worked out regardless of whether or not, it was what I thought it was. So it's got double meaning to me. The one on my forearm here, the tribal one, I was in Cancun. I had gotten a henna tattoo that was pretty cool. And by the time I got home, the henna thing had worn off. And I tried to remember what it looked like. And that was the closest thing that I could come up with was to what it looked like. Not my favorite tattoo, but that's the story behind it. It's a replica of what I got done henna in Cancun. So there was that one. What else? So that's that one. Okay, so I guess we'll move on to my flames. This one here, you can see that little symbol on the front of the flame. And this one here. And you can see that little symbol in front of the flame with the drop shadows. One flame is bigger than the other. This one was my flame. This one was for my girlfriend at the time, so my ex-girlfriend. And that is her name in Korean. She was Korean. She was born in Korea. That is my name in Korean. So now I get these tattoos. It's got her name in it. And we break up before the thing's even done healing. Yeah, that's what happens. You get someone's name tattooed on you, then you're going to break up. So, you know, it's not, I'm not going to have it covered up because each one of my tattoos tell a piece of my story as to who I am. And, you know, people will be like, was your girlfriend now know? Yes, she knows. Of course I'm going to tell her about it. I mean, it's obvious when you see that. It means something. It's not gibberish. It's not scribble. So you're going to have to own up to it. And why not just tell the truth instead of something stupid? Because, you know, it can come back to bite you later in the ass anyway. So these are the flames that we got, or I got, representing me, the bigger one, her, the smaller one, her name, my name. You know, that's just how it worked out. But I love these two tattoos. And, you know, I wouldn't change them for the world. So there was those two. And I think my last two, you can see this one here, is a paw print. Now, we had a Brussels Griffin named Nico. Brussels Griffin is that dog from the movie As Good as It Gets. Nico was 15 years old, and a year ago in January we had to put him down because he was blind, he had dementia, he had had a stroke, a seizure. He was old, so we had to put him down. So the last weekend that Carrie and I had him, we took a ink pad and put his paw in the ink pad and made a few imprints of his paw. This is his paw. I took it and got it tattooed on my arm, and that's when I would hold him, my arm like this, his paw would rest. That paw would actually rest right there in my arm. So when we drove to bring him to the vet, that's how he was laying, and that's how I want to remember him. That's a tribute to him. And, you know, his life, and what a great friend he was to me, that I feel like he deserves a spot on my body in remembrance. So, and the last one you'll see here is the tribal Shamrock. On the side, you can't really tell what it is, but when you get behind, you can see it's the Shamrock. Tribal Shamrock is because I'm Irish. I'm Portuguese. I'm born in America, so I'm American. But my lineage goes back to Ireland and Portugal. So I don't have a Portuguese tattoo yet, but the Irish one, you know, it was very, very cool when I saw the tribal tattoo. And when I figured out where to put it to where you could see it on the side of my arm, and you wouldn't be able to tell what it is until you got to a certain spot, I liked that idea and thought it was cool. So that's where that one came from. So as of right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 tattoos, and I'm looking to get more because that's what happens when you get tattooed. But I like the idea of tattoos. I like the idea of individuality. I like the idea of that it tells your story, tells something about yourself, and I'm not going to change them. I mean, I may add to them, like pieces to them, but I'm not going to cover any of them up because I do feel like it's my story, and it tells part of my life from piece to piece, and things that are traumatic or major events in my life, I do sometimes get tattooed for them. Like Nico's passing was very traumatic to me. After 15 years, I mean, had him, you know, for 15 years, I took care of him, moved down from Rhode Island with him and stuff. That was a major thing in my life that happened. That changed my life, you know, in a certain way. So that tribute was, it's kind of in remembrance of that, that tells that story when people see it. So those are my tattoos and what they mean. Some of them have meanings, some of them don't. Some of them have multiple meanings, like the one on the back of my neck. But they are what they are, and they make me me. And I'm proud of them. So, hope you guys enjoyed this story time and what my tattoos are. Read comments or leave comments down below. www.bios3training.com. bios3training@gmail.com is the email address. And we're out.